What is up, everybody? It is Tuesday at 6 p.m., which means it is time for the Monster Maverick Show. At least it's 6 p.m. where I am, which is on the east coast of the U.S. So that is whatever time it is where you are. So, I think most people are probably in the Eastern time zone. But, we got some others. So, welcome, everybody. This is the Monster Maverick Show, and this is the show all about Splinterlands, but not about gameplay, not about picking the right teams, not about any of that other stuff. It's about the earn side of the plate earn. It's all about the economy of Splinterlands, the health of the ecosystem, new upcoming things. We're going to be talking a bit about proposals today. Some things just went live. Some things are going to be coming up for vote here shortly. We got some data on that today. Claiborne suggests an hour-long special. Now I'm going to give him a castle because I've already get everything he owns. Yeah, so Clay and I had a little back and forth on Twitter today. He's saying how he wants to, when he's on his deathbed, he wants to look back on his life and think about the experiences that he had, not about the afterlife or not about the things he's accumulated, but about the richness of the life that he lived. And I said, great. So I'm going to get everything you own, right? so now he's trying to bait me into giving him a castle, which probably is not going to happen. So, hello everybody, Druids, Luthians, everybody else in the chat. I'm your host, I'm Neil. If this is your first time tuning in, I am Splinterlands OG, from day one. One of the largest asset holders, as far as I'm aware, outside of Agrid, I'm the largest single individual asset holder in the Splinterlands ecosystem. And been around for a long time. I'm partners with Gerber in X Chaos, which is a Chaos Legion launch pool. I'm partners with Vedev in the Vidari Syndicate, which is where we raise capital from partners and deploy it into the Splinterlands ecosystem to obtain a yield. And that's a full KYC, only accredited investors kind of thing. We got more people trickling in. Good to see you. And Wild Hog is sharing links on Discord. I am terrible at promotions. It's just one of those things. I had a client for my day job. I do tax planning and consulting, things like that. And I had a client ask me the other day, "It's like, so do you have any Better Business Bureau or whatever?" I was like, "No, I got nothing. It's just totally referral based, pretty much." It's just one of those things that I'm just not good at the marketing. But And the times I've tried to hire people for marketing has not really worked out well. So, is what it is. But, so if you are into the numbers, this is the show for you. So they call me McSpreadsheet. Jimmy! Fat Jimmy's here. Who's neither fat nor Jimmy, which is a fun thing that people discovered at Splinterfest a couple weeks ago. So welcome, everybody. Let's go ahead and hit the theme song. Alright, we got Agrid in the house. Agrid's one of our illustrious founders of Splinterlands. Always good to have you. Yeah, so that theme song, if you were at Splinterfest, you heard a version of that. So that theme song was by Azaria. She's made multiple versions over the years. I don't know if that was like custom mixed for me, but when she sent me the file, it was Splinterlands for Neil is the name of it. So, maybe. But there's a whole new version coming out that they showed us at Splinterlands or premiered, or I don't know what's the word for releasing a song, but as more layers. So that I think that's just piano, and then it's they had other instruments on top of it, which was pretty good. I'm looking forward to the Battles 2.0 when we get sound effects and stuff in game. Debut, yes, debut is a good word for that. but yeah, if you want to check out the Splinterlands music that is gonna be coming, check out Azaria's blog on Peak or what have you. I think she keeps everything there. It's kind of hard to mix through things, but yeah, there's a SoundCloud album out there. Check it out. So let's talk about Splinterlands. We've had a number of things happen over the last week and a half. So everybody got back from Splinterfest. A whole bunch of people are sick. I did not get them sick. I'm actually feeling better since Splinterfest, which I've been under the weather with the coofs for a long time, and I still have them a little bit. So like when I have my hot tea here, when I drink that, it tends to make me cough a little bit, but I'm much better than I was before. So I'm happy about that. But there's that. There's a thing. But apparently a lot of people are not feeling well after the thing. So maybe everybody took it away from me, and that's okay. But I was actually way past any kind of contagious phase. So all you suckers, I hope you feel better. But let's get into some of the numbers. So there's a couple things I wanted to hit today. So one, we got SPS rewards going live for lands and for tower defense packs or nightmares. We want to cover those. We have a new proposal for adjusting earnings for rshares in the different leagues from silver on up, and we got some preliminary data on that I want to go over. And so the Azaria's albums on Apple Music and probably others, which is great. And we got the ecosystem roundup, and I do want to talk about general markets for a little bit. I don't know if we're actually going to cover all that, but we'll do our best. And then whatever else you guys want to throw at me, that's always good. I was actually thinking earlier today. So yesterday on the town hall, I did a segment with Agrod, and we were talking about the new proposal. And on Friday or Saturday, I had posted in the DAO chat that so I posted a Google form where people could click the link, they go to a forum, they rate the proposal, their feelings on it 1 to 5, and then they leave a comment. And I was thinking, like, maybe I should do that for this show. Just publish a thing. What kinds of things do you want me to hit? So let me know if there's any interest for that, because I might do it. But again, terrible at promotions. So let's talk about what do I want to pick first? Let's talk about all the stuff going live. All right, let's go over to Splinterlands here, and this is the shop. So, the other thing that went live today was the Genesis League goals. I will not be talking about that because I'm not involved at all. I know nothing about sports. I don't follow them. I don't watch them. So it's just not my bag. I do play tower defense, so that is my bag. So I will be involved in that. But so whoever participated, I heard there were some website issues with PayPal. Hope everything works out, but I don't know anything about the numbers there. So if we go over to the SPS dashboard, we have this new section right here. Let me make sure I can see that on screen. Looks all right. So for ranked rewards, you have your battles, battle rewards for SPS. You have your chest rewards. This is the section where you get your license rewards for SPS and vouchers. And now we have these new two payout pools. So we got nightmare rewards for SPS and land rewards SPS. So tonight in about 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, you can never get that UTC time conversion right. That should start populating with rewards that you have for nightmare tower defense packs that you hold or land that you hold. Important thing to note, you have to hold these assets in your game wallet in order for them to count for this daily distribution. So if you have them on Highvention, if you have them on Wax, not going to get any payouts for that. So just be aware, right? That might be worth doing if you're trying to sell the thing, but if you just have it over there just because, you're probably going to want to turn it, shift it back over into your game wallet. And so, if you have a plot, that'll count. If you have a track, that'll count as 100 plots. If you have a region, that'll count as 1,000 plots. and we should start seeing payouts there in in a few hours. So so of course there's a spreadsheet. Let's go over here, and we go to the right tab. This is the ecosystem numbers. Let's go to my Shardifier ratio, which I've renamed the MAC ratio. But these are numbers as of a little bit earlier in the day, so they might have changed a little bit. So there are 5,005 nodes that have been bought. There's 281,000 tower defense nightmare packs that have been bought. There's 150,000 plots out there, and yeah, spreadsheet time. That's right. And so now we have 3 different pools of SPS payouts that are coming to owners of these assets. 3.375 million SPS per month, a million SPS month going to tower defense, and 6.25 million a month going to plots. And so effective SPS is because the nodes also get vouchers, so that is taking that into account. And what is the ratios? What is the MAC ratio? So the MAC ratio basically is your APR, right? So if we take the SPS and we take it out, for a year based on today's price, divided by, the number of ways it's split, because all 3 of these things are split evenly amongst the owners of these various things, then compare that to the cost of everything. This is probably out of date, and that's out of date too, actually. But we're in the ballpark here, because plots went up, TD packs went down, so tower defense packs are doing pretty well. So let's actually go over, and you'll see how I do this in real time. So I go to my ecosystem value, and we got nightmares and 247, and plots are. That's column S. I think we need column U. It's 2 weeks old. Yeah. And then nodes are there. Okay, so nodes have taken a hit just because there's some cheap sales on Hive Engine. Tower defense packs on the secondary market are 247. Plots are the only things that have gone up, since last week or the week before. And largely because people have been buying, and they went up 10% over the past week. Most of that today. SPS has taken a hit, vouchers have taken a hit, Highway's taken a hit, DEC's taken a hit. So, that's part and parcel of the entire, world economy. But your APRs are right here. So nodes are paying 50% right now. If you buy on secondary, TD packs are paying 101%, and plots are paying 11-12%. So the plots were 15% until they were bid up a little bit, and now they're 12%. So if you are somebody like me who is just dollar cost averaging, so I have revenue from Splinterlands in a couple different forms. I have SPS payouts for various things. I rent out cards. I have battle winnings. Anything else? Well, vouchers and stuff, staking rewards. So, I take that and, I reinvest. Currently I've been doing 50% reinvestment. And I have to think to myself, okay, where do I want to put more funds? I could stake SPS, and, if we look at the staking ratio, we're at, where is it? 28%. Or I can go into one of these other things and look at, buying TD packs, buying plots, buying nodes. Well, I don't mean like me necessarily in amount, but like me in the approach. I didn't start off a whale, and I talked about this with a lot of people at Splinterfest. I think on the first day I bought 1 pack, might have been 2. I'm not sure exactly, but it's certainly not a whale to begin with. And the way I got to be a whale was that I saw a project that I thought really had strong potential, and I put in over time, not all at once, but over time I put in what was an uncomfortable amount of money for me, and keeping secrets from the wife, but and then I waited, right, and then I compounded. 4 years later, or 4.5 years later, things started to take off, and I was the beneficiary of the entire game ecosystem, rising as it gained in popularity once SPS was launched, and the broader DeFi GameFi community, it was became aware of Splinterlands, and obviously that was on the back of a bull market as well. So it all was a synchronicity kind of event. It all worked out, and all of you are here. So. I see Phyllis say, I wish I found this game when I found Gods Unchained. So Gods Unchained launched a little bit after Splinterlands. I think it was maybe a year after. I know they were in development for a long time. But I downloaded the thing, and I played it once, and I was just like, I just do not like this. Like, one game took like a half hour, and this was before Immutable X was developed, so it was all in ETH, and people were having trouble. They couldn't open packs, and they couldn't open cards. It was a whole mess. I've not played it since then. From what I understand, they fixed a lot of those things by going onto their private chain to avoid those gas fees. But it is what it is. Icy Flow 6 Splinterlands is better than Gods Unchained. Okay, great. Glad to hear it. But, the whole industry is so young and so small that, people say, this is in competition with that. There is no competition. This is developing the market phase for GameFi. So the competition is mobile gaming and, traditional studio games. Just making those people who are already customers over there aware of things like blockchain gaming, where they can own their own assets. That's a fairly revolutionary concept, at least in the digital world. In the old days, obviously you owned your Monopoly board, but there was no market for it. Right? You could own your trading card game assets like Magic the Gathering, and there is a secondary market for that, but it's hard, right? Because you got to look at the condition of the cards. You got to be physically either in the same place, or you have to do some kind of mailing system. We're super early. The more crypto games that are out there, the better, because it has more chances to draw people into the crypto gaming ecosystem as a whole. Because I've played other crypto games. I was in the problem with the other crypto games, though, is that their tokenomics are not designed well, and they implode. So I was in Crypto Blades. Last summer, I was doing well, and then they got so upside down that you could not. The value of their token went down so far that even paying the gas fee to withdraw funds was greater than the amount that you would get, and that's saying something, because gas fees on Binance or BNB chain, as they call it now, are super low. So it was bad. Omega's asking how many GLG did I buy? About 0. Now, I do stake, you can see on the screen, I do have 1 million SPS staked. There, you can see on the screen. And I will be getting some airdrops of something, GLX, I guess. So I will be, playing with those, but I will not be, putting any additional funds into it. Just because, soccer's not my thing, or football, or whatever you want to call it. But I am actively buying into Nightmare and Tower Defense because 2 reasons. So one is this ratio right here, that 101%. But 2, because because I like Tower Defense. I like Tower Defense games. I play them. I have them on my phone. So it's just my genre of thing. So I'm a strong believer in investing in what you know. And the corollary of that with GameFi is that play games that you enjoy. It's not worth getting into stuff that's just for they don't get any enjoyment out of. That's just my personal opinion, not financial advice. Isoflow is saying BNB is getting questionable. U.S. and Europe will probably go after Binance soon. I mean, they've been going after them for a long time, but I'm not concerned about BNB chain as so much as if you have exchange funds. That's a whole separate story. But BNB chain is fine, and should it become a problem, you can always just fork it. It's just an EVM clone. So Mike is asking, so if I invest in TD, I'll get 100% of money back after the airdrop. Well, if not necessarily, right? Because this is APR, and APRs, this is good to know just in general, APRs are always measured instantaneously, meaning that at this given point in time, with these values, this is the number that it calculates out to. if these numbers remain constant for a year. Obviously, they're not going to remain constant for a year. So more TD packs will sell. That will dilute your earnings. So your relative share of that million SPS per month will go down, and the price of SPS will change. And then at some point, we're going to get a game, which I'm guessing is 6-8 months away, and and then the whole model will change after that. But this is just until we get a functioning game. So you got to make your own predictions, right? How do you forecast into the future? What do you think is going to happen? How fast are those TD packs going to sell? They've been pretty slow lately. So if we go over to the ecosystem numbers, which is a nice segue. Let's go. So Nightmares. So 10,000 Nightmare packs sold in the last week. That's not a huge amount, and I know I was probably 1,000 of that. So maybe a little bit less, but people are not aping in like I thought they would. So more for me. You do have to ask yourself, if you do want to go in to buying them. This is something I do, constantly. It's like, do I want to buy from the shop, or do I want to buy on the secondary market? Secondary market's usually cheaper, but you get the airdrops. I think there's 4 more airdrops. I'm not sure. Over the course of the pack sales. So, how do you value those airdrops? Hard to say, but I kind of ballpark it at like $20 a piece, based on Splitterlands airdrops, and based on that, there's like a 20-cent, a built-in gain from airdrops for a given quantity of Nightmare packs. So you have to do that comparison, and like right now, I have to say that the secondary market's probably cheap enough that it'll be cheap enough to cover that airdrop gap. But do your own numbers. Omega saying everybody's broke, too much for sale, too fast. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of stuff going on. So we got GLG today, which obviously a lot of Splitterlands players are going into. We got Rooney's coming up in a week. We got everything that was just sold. All the Splitterfest tickets, all the Rooney whitelist, all the Nightmare pre-sale, all the Rift Watcher stuff. So it's a lot. Luthian's saying really wants to buy more Rift Watchers packs, but Baron won't let me. Yes, this is why you don't tell your spouse things. That's not financial or marriage advice, but yeah. So let me catch up on chat here for a second. Oh, Agro's saying my first piece of advice when people ask me what to buy is what do you like? Yes. And Agri just buys everything. Yeah, there's some truth to that. So people, one of the things that I said it today, at the start of the show, is like I'm the biggest, individual asset holder outside of Agro. And Agro has the most, but he has an advantage that none of us have. And he has the advantage that, like, he knows what's in his own brain, and he obviously talks with Matt and now, the rest of the team constantly. So he has a much, much stronger picture of what he thinks is going to happen into the future with Splitterlands. But you could take that as an indication that he buys everything, and obviously he's bullish on the whole thing. So take that for what it is worth. But let's see what else happened in the ecosystem here. What's this down 12%? This is Chaos Legion market cap was down. A lot of things were down a bit. Totems, we had one, was that Rares went down 42%. Rift Watchers went up 46%, which is nice. Nightmares are down in market cap. So yeah, overall down 11.5 billion from last week, which is a 5% decline. And that is, I kind of think, to be expected, given kind of how we are looking in the macro. So when I say the macro, what I mean is the economic macro. So here's our Bitcoin chart. It's been doing a whole lot of nothing. It's kind of bouncing around in this 18 to 20,000 range. And, there's all kinds of news coming out with real estate prices are starting to come down. Bank of England is going crazy because Liz Truss is, we're going to do a tax cut. We're not going to do a tax cut. The Bank of England has to intervene in the gilts market. It's been a mess over there. The pound is going up and down like crazy. So this looks like a daily stock chart, but this is actually the British pound versus the U.S. dollar. So this is a crazy amount of volatility in the forex markets, and the euro is a little better, but not much better. So I mean, it's just down, down, down here, and the net result of that is U.S. dollars going up, and everything else priced in U.S. dollars, like Bitcoin, like SBS, like BNB, like ETH, all coming down. Just as the U.S. dollar becomes the cleanest dirty shirt in the world. So at some point that will reverse, and all these other things will pop. But until then, we're kind of in this grind lower. Aggro saying how we look versus BTC is actually pretty strong, and I'd probably agree with that. So DEC not so much, but SPS has been holding on strong. There's lots of things going on in that macro picture that basically everybody's waiting for the Fed pivot, and I'm not convinced that's exactly the right move, because whenever everybody's waiting for something or everybody's expecting something, it's usually wrong. So there's that Max Payne kind of philosophy where if everybody's expecting a certain event, then almost by definition they have to be wrong, because there has to be another side of the trade. I kind of think that the timing of the market shifts will not be as strongly correlated to the Fed pivot as people expect. So for what that's worth. I had a tweet out a couple of weeks ago where, when the Bank of England first did their intervention on that big dip that we saw, this right here, when it got all the way down to almost parity with the U.S. dollar. What was the low? The low was 107. So, when the Bank of England came in and says, we're going to intervene in the gilts market and back up the collateral, basically, then to my mind that says, okay, the euros are pumping plenty of money. They came out with a statement I think last week saying that their terminal rate, meaning the highest they're going to go, is I forget the number. I think it's like 2.5%. The Bank of England is capitulating here to the markets and intervening to prop up the fiat systems. So I think the Fed is not going to be that far behind. We have another couple of meetings here. I think 3 meetings over the next 4 months, and I think by the third of those, the market will have screamed sufficiently that the Fed will have no choice but to stop their rate hikes. We might get. I think we get another one. We might get a big one, like a full point maybe, and the next one, and then a lesser one, and then I think we're even, and then it'll probably hold as long as they can, and then they'll start cutting. That's just my prediction. Take it for what it's worth, but I think effectively the bottom is in for the markets, and that includes the crypto markets. So that advice is worth what you pay for it, but that is my outlook on things, and that's how I'm playing the markets here. Godly Rich says should be 3 more rate hikes. So yeah, I don't think we're going to get that third. I think we're going to get 2 and then flat. So just because things are breaking too quickly, basically. And one of the big things. I mean, everybody looks at the stock markets, but the bond markets have been like in free fall. Yields have been pumping up. In relative terms, we're talking like 4.5%, 2 years, and historically that's still very low, but compared to where we've been, that's extremely high. And as debt rolls over, then people have to refinance, and they have this higher rate. The interest cost rises as a proportion of cash flows, and they were able to afford to do less stuff. So I mean, it becomes an accelerating downward cycle, and I think that's going to hit the fan here shortly. Even though they say unemployment rates are strong. Let's go ahead and look at. I don't usually do this, but let's do labor force participation rate. This is my favorite measurement of unemployment because when they say there's like 3.5% unemployment rate, that's of the people who are looking for jobs, right? So it's not like of all adults. Because obviously not all adults are in the workforce. There's retired people, there's people in school, but if you're between the ages of 25 and 55, you're probably going to want to have some level of income. Maybe your stay-at-home spouse or something. But let's just look over the last 5 years here. So before COVID crash, labor force participation rate was 63.4, which wasn't great at the time because it was down from the pre-financial crisis, which was 67%. So we were up to 63%, and then it crashed down to what? 60%. So we lost 7% of the workforce in the COVID crash just immediately because governments just shut stuff down. And then now we're back up to 62%, 62.3. So there's plenty of people who don't have jobs. So you see these headlines on the news saying like, oh, the Fed is wants to increase unemployment, which they do, and they want to break stuff, like I was saying. The employment markets are already broken. So it's all about your frame of reference. If you're comparing to people who are actively looking for work, okay, not that many people are unemployed, but compared to the people who are normally employed, there is a big gap, right? So there's a lot of people out there that normally would have jobs and don't. So take that for what happened. Deuce is saying, Fred chart, goodness, what are we up to today? Yeah, get a little more technical today. I wasn't even planning this, but it is what it is. So I think things break sooner rather than later, I guess is the point. And we get that coveted Fed pivot here, maybe February, because there's a meeting of February 1. I think that's probably when we get a flat Fed rate. Thatcham is saying when things break, there's a huge transfer of wealth from the many to the few. Yes, that is true. There's many ways of looking at that. There's people like in the Austrian economics view, they talk about time preference. People who have high time preference want things now, and people who have low time preference are willing to wait. Another way of saying the same thing is there's impatience and patience. And I forget who said it, but somebody said the markets are a mechanism of transferring wealth from the impatient to the patient, which is echoing that same idea. So, be patient, and DCA is your friend. If I'm not able to pick exact bottoms, never have been, but just DCA compound works out. One thing that I was talking to some clients last week actually about they were asking me about Bitcoin because everybody's sad that it's at 19,000 down from 60 something 69,000, and I always come back to the same point and say that for me it's a very long-term perspective. Like in 20 years, like literally 20 years, Bitcoin is either going to still exist and be worth a ton of money because people value having a monetary asset outside of the fiat systems, or it's going to be zero. So and there is no in between, right? It's not going to be 20,000 in 20 years. I'll tell you that. The net result of that is that I think that people will continue to find utility and demand for these kinds of assets, and there's going to be ups and downs along the way. But long term, I think we're on the up. Where it comes to Splinterlands, it's like, well, will Splinterlands still be a game? Will still be an economic force over that amount of time? And for the foreseeable future, I would say yes. It is one of the very, very few crypto projects that has lasted as long as it has. In the gaming DeFi space, and they are doing all they can to preserve that and continue that. So part of that is these other projects like the Tower Defense, like the Genesis League Sports, and we have the first title under that label with GLGs launching here. We got the Roonies, they're trying to attract Ethereum types, and and everything will I think work out over time. Part of that is this new proposal, right? So let me bring up the post just so I don't misread things. But basically, there is a post to tweak the rshares formula, and every time I'm streaming, everything just slows way down. Omega's saying, I just think I'm mad that I'm broke and had 60K last year. yeah. I mean, if we could all time the top, then we would all be rich. But then who would be the buyers, right? So like when Bitcoin was at 69 and we had that double top, I was sure it was going to break to the upside. I was sure that we were going to go to at least like 90, 95,000. And I was planning on unloading a bunch at 95 because I thought there'd be a lot of psychological resistance around 100. But then apparently everybody else thought the same thing. So it is what it is. And I've been holding, I've been liquidity pooling, and I've been dollar cost averaging ever since. So we got this new proposal. The proposal's not live in the proposal system yet, but it is on the I guess for review period, right? So proposal is being put forth to a vote of all staked SPS token holders to adjust the amount of reward shares awarded in ranked battles based on the level of cards used by the winning player in the battle. So up to now, or not up to now, since we had the last major economic change, we have SPS divided by tier. So each of the modern and wild ladders has, I forget the number, 3.6 billion SPS a month, something like that. And then it's bracketed by league. So champion gets 30%, diamond gets 25%, gold gets 20%, and on down. And so within that, you have your ranking, and then you are competing amongst everybody else within the same tier, like silver, gold, diamond, whatever, for that SPS rewards. And then that's in addition to your focus chests and your season chests. So your rshares go into all of that. How much of what fraction of the pool are you earning for your efforts in that day? And so what they're proposing to do here is they're going to change how many rshares you get as a function of the level of the cards that you play in the battle. So if you're in Gold League, then you want to have at least level 5 commons, at least level 4 rares, at least level 3 epics, and at least level 2 legendaries. So what that is the summoner cap for the league below. So if you're in gold, if you have at least silver level cards, then you're good. If you have bronze level cards, though, then you'll be penalized, and you'll be penalized by a weighted average, basically, because it goes card by card. So if you are playing in Diamond and you are using gold cards, you're fine. If you're playing in Diamond, you're using silver or bronze or novice cards, then you can be penalized. So anytime you talk about reducing people's rewards, people freak out, and this was no exception. So Agrod and I talked about it a little bit on the town hall last night, and I would recommend going back and watching that. So where this hits people is because there is just the nature of the ranking system that is in place is inflationary. So if you battle 50-50 and you have a bronze level deck, if you battle enough, you will rise, because just by flipping the coin, you'll get some win streaks, and that will have a positive bias over the course of the season, and you will rise, depending on your particular experience, you could rise, a full league, sometimes a league and a half, so you could start off in bronze 1, let's say, with let's call it level 3 2-1 cards, and you could get into gold 3, maybe gold 2 by the end of the season. So that's just how the ranking system is built. If it were up to me, I would not have an inflationary ranking system. What I would do is I would have 2-week tournaments or season-long tournaments, and people get to pick what league they want to compete in, and then they would compete within that class and rank wherever they rank. And it would be ordinal and it'd be ordinal but not numerical. So what I mean by that is you would be first, second, third, fourth, but the actual there would be no rating number, right? There's no elo system to that. So that's how I would do it, and you would be able to change leagues if you wanted to. But if you change in the middle of a season, you start off at the bottom. So obviously that is not what we have now, and there are. I mean, the team has their reasons for doing it that way, but it is what it is. So given that we do have an inflationary ranking system, what they're trying to do here is to prevent the outsized earning of those lower level cards in leagues that are 2 leagues higher. So you can go 1 league higher, you still get the same amount of rewards, but if you go 2 leagues higher, then you start to get attenuated. And what I don't see changing is I don't see this affecting season chests, because if, let's say, you're one of those bronze players, you have level 3 commons, you battle through bronze 1, you get into silver 3, you get silver 3, silver 2, silver 1, and then on the very last day, the very last hour, let's say, you get into gold 3. Now, for the following season, that means your chest rewards will be gold chests, and so you won't have any change with that. And the gold chests are obviously worth more than the silver chests and worth more than the bronze chests, so that's to your advantage. However, what you won't be able to do is you won't be able to earn focus chests and battle rewards in that gold 3 level. So where before you want to go up as much as possible, get into gold 3, maybe gold 2, now if you have those bronze cards, you're going to battle up, you want to get to silver 1 and stay there up until the very end of the season. So the one of the positive effects of that is that one, the gold pool is not diluted as much with as many people, given X number of bronze players. And the second thing is that when you're above the rating cap for the league, your streak bonuses go away. So there will be less overall ratings inflation, because those lower level accounts will not be able to generate streak bonuses throughout season play, because they'll get to those caps of silver 1, let's say, in probably halfway through the season. So we'll see the rankings of everybody go up, for half a season or so, and then they'll still be a positive bias, but it'll be a shallower slope, if you want to chart that over the course of the season. So people are very concerned when they see their rating being attenuated by this, but I think the net effect for most people will actually be fairly positive, and that's just because there will be less inflation and less dilution throughout the season. So we got a data dump earlier today, and Commander Chaos went through it a bit. He said, I think this represented 122,000 lines, but this is preliminary, right? Because he said he'll have a full report tomorrow, but this is a small fraction. And if I'm reading this chart right, what I think this says is that of all the battles played in Champion, given the card weightings that were played over the last couple weeks, the net rshares would be 91% of the full rshares that they could have gotten. So it was 9% underpowered is one way to think about it. Diamond is 41% underpowered, silver is 48% underpowered, and gold is 56% underpowered. So again, this is not a complete assessment, but it is preliminary. So we do expect, though, that gold is going to be the hardest hit, because gold is where you can take bronze cards, into during the course of season play, and then that will be limited. So, one way to think about this is that, if I'm playing into gold with underpowered cards, then I'm getting cut in half, basically. The other way to think about it is that if you have silver or gold level cards, then you have 50% less competition for the pool. So, which side are you going to fall on there? And I think most of the people who are playing, bronze level cards into gold are, not individuals sitting there playing individually. I think most of those are the farmers. I don't know that for certain yet, but I think it's a reasonable proposition. What I think is a lot more likely for individual players who are actually playing the game, sitting in front of the computer, is what happens here in Champion. So, in Champion, you have to have max level cards, and we can see that it's 9% underpowered. And I think that is probably indicative of, it's like, oh, I'm playing this match. I have max level cards for 4 out of 7, or maybe 5 out of 7, but this 1 or 2 I have underpowered just because of cost or availability or whatever. And so you might see a crimp on an individual battle here and there depending on what card mix you have, but overall you're pretty much going to be earning the same amount. And remember that it's the same case for everybody, right? So if everybody's playing somewhat underpowered, because they have a level 1 legendary in the mix, then the rshares for the battle rewards at least will be distributed equally amongst all of that. You'll still be crimped a little bit on focus chests and season chests, but for battle rewards, which is actually the majority of the rewards, it'll be roughly equivalent. But your share of the pool might get bigger if all those other farmers are kind of pushed out of your competition league. And Deuce says there are also some cards where it's strategic to use lower level cards, even at max. So yeah, so one of the things Yaba said, he had a follow-up post, is that he wants to enable the UI in the game to allow for picking lower level versions of the card that you have, which I think should be done. But that is technically not part of this proposal. So you have to assume that they intend to do this at some future point, but not going to be instantaneous. That's for sure. Let me go back and catch up on the chat here. Let's see, people talking about crypto exchanges. Icy Flow says, I want to unlink the leagues, pick your league, and have rewards paid top to bottom. Yeah, I agree, but it's not happening. Agrod says, after this, should we continue to reset leagues at the end of the season? We were kicking around an idea the other day about instead of a season reset where you go down like 30% in ratings, it's like, what about a daily decay? So take the same amount of season reset, if it's 33% from Champ 1 to Diamond 1, but then just instead of doing 33% twice a month, do like I think it came out to like 3% per day. And I think that would be actually a lot more interesting of a system. And it would if you log out and you space out for a week, then yeah, you're going to grind down and you're going to lose your rating. But for the people who are active and are playing all the time, they can overcome that through the inflationary rating system. But it won't be so much, So I think that's an idea worth looking into. Deuce says, I think this proposal is a very good idea to try and encourage building decks up to play in advanced leagues. I agree. Deuce also says, I was totally guilty of playing a Max Bronze League deck up into Gold 2 every season. He's one of the ones. Let's shame him now. And although this will reduce my earnings on that account, ultimately this is great for the game. Yeah, so, and I've been saying this forever, the people who are really, min-maxing as much as they can, they're going to follow the ROI. So if it becomes worth it to combine into fewer accounts, then they will do that and compete with stronger decks. So that's always the incentive, or that should always be the incentive, that we want to encourage that kind of behavior. In Adiada's follow-up post, he had some statistic where it's like if every common in Chaos Legion was combined to level 3, there wouldn't be enough to cover all the accounts that we have now. So that's kind of impactful. Luthien is saying, just my opinion, I think it would be nice to have ratings reset to the bottom of the league at the end of the season instead of falling off an entire league. So if you go to gold, you get reset to gold, but at the beginning of gold. So, that's I can see that, because there's behavioral differences. Like, for me, I'm not good at bronze. I'm not really that good at silver. I get better as the cards go up in league, because the abilities and the stats all change. So, it's a little bit. There have been times where I've been stuck in like bronze 1 trying to get into silver, just stuck. And then once I get into silver, I go up to as I cruise through the league. So there's definitely subjective opinions there. Deuce says there are also some cards where it's strategic to use lower level cards. Yeah, we talked about that. Tamashon says, I'm a fan of this, and I like the idea of one league a season, and the top 30% can move up, and bottom can move down. Yeah, that's another way to do it. I really like the daily grind though. Season reset to 1K rating. Each league can have its own rating. That's interesting. Reset should be optional. I don't think optional is gonna work. Luthien says rating decay sounds interesting, and Lyrian, I can never pronounce his name. I think it should be fixed rating, so if you manage to be middle champ 3, you go back to the middle of diamond 3. So you have a buffer of loss before you go back to gold. Yeah, so I mean, all different ideas. I think, whatever the case might be, I think people are open to changing the reset system. I think we can conclude that. So, from the people that I talked to in the Mavericks, a lot of them are in favor, and obviously a lot of those are of heavy SPS voting weights. So my guess is that this proposal, when it is actually proposed, will pass. But it is interesting to see all the different opinions that have been coming through, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow when we can get better data on how the battles have been going so far. So. We have 10 minutes left. That went way longer than I had planned on. So, that's always the way, though. Let's see. What did I want to hit? I should have written this down, but I didn't. So, I guess we should take a look at... Let's take a look at the cards. The card market, and by card market, I mean what's actually happening here in the market caps, because I saw some interesting stuff. So this one, Chaos Legion, is down 12% week over week, and all the other editions are pretty much down a little bit. Nightmares is up. I think that's Rift Watchers. Rift Watchers is up by only 130k though. That's nowhere near what the total loss from the other ones are. So cards are down 3.8 million from the week prior. So, it's hard to say because now the things are fracturing more. So we have the tower defense, which I'm including in here, but then we have this Genesis League stuff, which is totally separate. And my guess is that we are seeing a lot of selling to raise funds for those other things, and we're getting sector rotation within the ecosystem, which is, to be expected. People only have so much capital around, and it's not all going to be fresh money coming in. Licenses are up. That's that 46% is Rift Watchers, right there, Rift market cap, and licenses are down 3% actually in market cap. So, it's to be expected, but, obviously we wish everything number went up forever, but that's just not the case. So what I think we're seeing here is mostly, this rotation, and then, SPS is getting hit for 11% week over week. DEC is down 14% week over week. So, it's a lot of selling going on, and so the big sales that we have coming up was Genesis League goals, which is the new name. As of today, we're getting Rooney here in just a little bit, and we got an announcement yesterday on the town hall that we're separating Rooney into 2 phases. So if we go over to the Splitterlands, let's go back over there. If we go to the shop, I believe it is 1 week from today. Almost 7 days from now. So that is going to be the whitelist minting. So if you have a Rooney whitelist from the whitelist pre-sale that they had, a few weeks ago, this is going to be where you can mint without having to deal with everybody else in the broad market. So I was able to get 4, I think, whitelist spots. So I'll be minting those 4, and then 2 days afterwards, then there's going to be a general mint for all the. Let's see, there were 6,500 Roonies. There were, I forget how many whitelist spots there were. Let's say 2,000, something like that. And so the 4,500 or so that were not whitelist reserved, those are going to go on general sale on the 29th or 27th or something, a couple days after this date of the 25th. So I think that's actually a good system, because if you are like me and you have a certain number of whitelists and you want to buy more, then having those two events happen simultaneously is kind of a pain. So by separating them out, it allows people who have whitelists the opportunity to compete in general with the other people and not have this overlap effect, which I'm a fan of. So I am, when Yaba first announced Rooney's, I was like, yes, profile pictures, who cares? But I've come around on it. I'm actually pretty excited about it now. So, I mean, it is profile pictures, but it is linking in with the Ethereum crowd, which I've been saying for years that is where the money is. So, having some exposure there is great. And keeping it on ETH and in that ecosystem allows people who are comfortable and familiar with ETH able to use it. And then, whether or not they buy Rooney's is kind of beside the point. It's a demonstration or a proof of concept that we can do these things with Ethereum assets and use them in the game. So if we were to go to one of the the big ETH projects, Bored Apes or whatever, you could say, hey, you could come in. You could use your what do you call it? Your status asset as a gaming asset in our game, and it'd be cool, it'd be fun, it'd be extra utility, and then bring them in, and obviously some portion of those, if they're interested, will come in and be participants in the ecosystem, and buying and renting cards, and buying nodes and getting into Genesis League, and it's all just increasing the size of the pie for everybody, which is really what the whole thing's about. So I am pretty bullish on the whole thing, and I want to buy enough to make sure I get one I like, because if you guys have never been in a PFP mint before, so you go to the website, you click mint, you pay the fee, and some of them mint and reveal at the same time. Some of them mint first and reveal later. It just depends on the project, but you get these things, and you typically, if you're aggressive about it like I am, you buy a bunch and then you reveal them all, and then you figure out, it's like, oh, I've got this one that has super rare hat or whatever, and I've got this one that's has all common stats, all the different attributes are super common. I'm just gonna dump that. And you go through and you pick and choose, and that's part of the fun. It's trying to do like a little bit of a treasure hunt amongst all the different things that you have. Or if you got nothing that you like, then you can go on the secondary market, which is going to be OpenSea, and you can go and try to buy the one that you think looks best or has the best appreciation potential or whatever. When is Rooney playable? I have no idea. So I don't even think we know the stats yet, do we? I'd have to look at the FAQ. Well, let's take a look. We got 2 minutes left. The story. Show me the stats. Yeah, we have. Oh, there's an ETH price there now. That wasn't there before, so it's going to be close to that. I don't think ETH will change too much in the next week. And cross-chain compatibility, etc., etc. What is Splinterlands? What are the benefits? Yada, yada, yada. So, yeah, I don't think we have in-game stats yet. Oh, duh. It's right there. So, yeah, we got Opportunity. We got the Self-Resurrect. We got the Two Strike. We got the... I forget the name of that. The other shield. So, yeah, it's a good card. And obviously, though, it's not going to be your only card, right? So if you're one of these other projects who says, oh, that'd be cool, I'd like to have my ape, I could have my little ape art in here. It'll be the same card, I imagine. But then I'm going to need other stuff, right? So I go into the market and rent a bunch of cards, learn that whole thing, see how cool the DeFi aspect of Splinterlands is, which is, in my opinion, light years ahead of everything else. Deuce says no, ETH price is not fixed. Yeah, not fixed, but it's going to be around this. I think they said they're going to fix a couple days prior to the mint. But it's not going to change that much between here and 4 days from now. Plus or minus 10% max at this point. So I'm really excited, and I guess it's going to be earlier in the day before my show next week. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what I get. And that actually brings us to the end of the show. So thanks everybody for coming by, and we'll see ya next week.